This is Memeza podcast. Where thought leaders connect.
Hello, Autumn, and welcome to the second edition of the Memeza podcast in celebration of
International Nurses Day. My name is Janelle Taza. I'm part of the Aurum Communications team, and welcome to the podcast.
And you're here with also the co-host, the partner,
Wow.
the brainchild. No, I'm joking.
You
I'm
don't
just
have
kidding.
to be
I'm
that
just kidding.
shady.
Miguel Abrahams from Aurum Communications as well. And yeah, we have a special guest.
So his name is Patient. He is a nurse at Aurum. So Patient, welcome.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. So you are a research nurse, right? That's
Yes.
correct, right?
Yes.
So you are based in Rustenburg.
Yes.
So I think my first question would be, and this is like a really journalistic question, is since your name is Patient, how do you? No, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, please tell us exactly what International Nurses Day means to you.
For me, talking about the name patient, it's
How did that come about? Sorry.
so my name, the name patient was given to me by the nurse that was actually delivering me when my mom was going to give birth. So
Oh,
This
look
is
at
divine.
that.
This is divine
Yeah.
intervention.
Oh, wow.
It's meant to be.
What a story.
So she gave my mom the name. She said, "Your child will be named Patient." And contrary to that, when I grew up, then I came into the nursing fraternity. So for me, International Nurses Day, it's not only about the remembrance of the pioneer of nursing, Florence Nightingale, but it is also to remember the vital role that nurses play in society as a whole and in the community, improving the life of our patients and also in the social aspect in our community. So for me, that's what Nurses Day means to me, particularly looking at how nursing has evolved over the years and to the current nursing structure that we have.
Yes.
I believe that nursing has evolved in such a way that whenever people see a nurse walking in the street, they always see someone that is eager to help and compassionate about the people. So to me, that's what it means to me.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
So, I mean, the theme of this year's International Nurses is the economic power of care. What does that mean to you?
Let's be realistic. For us to render a complete and comprehensive nursing care, the economic power comes into place. You know, back in the days, nursing used to be all about bandaging the patient and
Yes.
giving the emotional support. But in our days where even technology has evolved, that is where economy comes into place so that nurses can have enough resources and also the correct resources in order to take care of the patient. So those resources, to be honest, they need economic empowerment. Have you ever been in a situation where a patient suffers or a patient dies due to lack of resources? Not that nurses don't care, but they care, but they lack the necessary resources in order to take care or to improve the life of those patients. So I believe that they came up with this theme this year. Actually, if you can look at the theme for last year, 2023 and 2022, it was more or less about investing in the nursing fraternity. Because I believe if as a society and even the stakeholders, if we can have enough to invest in the nursing fraternity, it will even change to be better than where it is at the moment. So I think for me, that's what it means.
So speaking about this economic power, what would be the first steps? What would you say would be the first steps that we can do to ensure this?
That's a very interesting and a very vital question. I believe if we sort of consciously so invest in nursing, number one, the first thing that we need to do it is to empower them academically. So if we invest in the academic or the education of nurses, because remember, we have seen it with COVID-19. Diseases move from one point to another. Then the first one you have got this strain, and then the next thing you have got this strain. So you need educated nurses that will be able to deal with those kind of new diseases and new infectious diseases that we encounter in our world. So if we invest in their education, number two, if we increase the autonomy of nurses, allow them to have their own practices, we cannot run away from the fact that our clinics are overcrowded, our hospitals are overcrowded. Other multidisciplinary team, they have got that autonomy to open their own practices, but in nursing, it is still a bit difficult for nurses to open their own practices. So if we can voluntarily so and intentionally so invest in them, put more funding to help nurses open their own practices in order to alleviate the stress that's already there in the health facilities, then I think that's the step that we should take first.
Oh, I think we need to put you on a bigger stage,
You
a
actually
bigger
said a
platform.
mouthful, and I really like what you're saying about education, because I really think that's the most first crucial step, as you did mention, and it's very significant. You know, it really starts with education, and I think that's really important for the community to know.
Definitely. To add on that, remember nursing has got different specialities.
Yeah.
So if we can encourage nurses to study more, to become specialties in their own respective fields, I think that will be a great step towards investing in the nursing.
So speaking about these specialities, explain to us a little bit. You are a research nurse, so explain
Yes.
to us what's the difference.
Okay, so nursing has got different specialities before I can even come to research, because research itself has got a vast opportunities for nurses, which maybe we will touch on at a later stage. So in your hospital, you have got your trauma nurses who are more into casualty. So they have got intense education to deal with trauma cases that comes in casualty. You have got your specialized midwife. So these ones, they are not just general midwives. They are able to deliver even complicated cases. You have got your theater specialized nurses who are more trained in dealing with more special cases in theater, and also ICU nurses. So those are the ones that I can speak about. When it comes to clinical research itself, you can get in with your bachelor's degree, but when you come in, there are more educational programs that you can be engaged on to develop yourself. I can talk about program management, which I just completed. I've also completed pharmaceutical science, which is more about regulatory and clinical research itself. So those are the specialties that nurses in clinical research, they can indulge themselves in order to improve themselves.
So moving on to the motivation and some of the key challenges and also takeaways. Can you just share a key takeaway or a lesson that you've learned in your nursing career?
For me, I believe that one of the lessons that I have learned, and which I believe that all other nurses should also carry, it's teamwork. Look, nursing, it's not an island. You can never succeed in caring the patient alone. You need a multidisciplinary team in order to take care of the patient. I can give an example. If you've got a patient, an orthopedic patient that came in maybe with a fracture, you will need a physiotherapist, you will need an orthopedic surgeon, you will need a pharmacist to prescribe, to dispense medication. You will need a nurse to be able to care for that patient. So if we can all learn that teamwork, it's not about the pride that we can have, that I can do this alone. It's about teamwork in order to improve the life of that patient that needs our help at that moment.
And I think it really applies to all of the profession, because it's like there's nothing, it's not possible without teamwork.
You can't do it
We
alone.
need to support each other. We need to hold each other's hands. We need to be together.
Definitely.
So
And
I think that's very important, and I'm glad that you highlighted that.
Yeah.
So speaking about the teamwork aspects and all that comes into, and some of the challenges that you face and that you work through, does that get too much for you sometimes? Does the profession of nursing get
It
too
does.
much?
Imagine working in a facility where there is lack of human resource.
Yeah.
Where you find that as a nurse, maybe time in a clinic, you are the only registered nurse, maybe with a receptionist and maybe with a one enrolled nurse who maybe will assist you there and there. But you have got a clinic full of maybe 50 patients. On the other side, you have got about 4 women about to deliver. And then you have got one case in the emergency room that you alone as a registered nurse, you need to attend.
Yeah.
So lack of human resource, which will form part of the multidisciplinary team, will lead to the failure of the health system if we continue that way. But keeping that in mind, if we can have enough human resource that will all form part of this multidisciplinary team, I believe we can be able to render the best service to our patients.
No, that's great. I wanted to also just ask you, how do you maintain being in your profession and having a normal life? Is it? I always. I know it's a big
I mean, it
question.
does get demanding,
I mean,
and the
yeah.
profession that you're in. I
so
mean, he just
important. Yeah,
mentioned
no,
that he
yeah.
has to go about it without having the necessary resources at
Yes.
times.
Yeah.
So how do you go about that?
You in your profession, you guys are doing you're doing so much, and
It is
sometimes
quite a lot.
because of the lack of resources,
Yeah.
you have to wear many hats, correct? So how do you still, or how are you still able to still do your life?
Look, the nursing profession itself, it's demanding.
Yeah.
And to have a social life, it's luxury, to be honest. Where
Sure.
you find that in some cases you work 12 hours a day, and then you come back, you are tired, you still need to have your social life in order.
Yes, yes.
So it's just a matter of utilizing the times where you are off, make sure that you are able to rest enough, and then make sure that you are able to spend time with your family and socialize. But my advice to nurses is that that special time that you get when you are off, have enough time to rest. In the nursing fraternity, there is this thing called locoming, where you find that nurses, they can work at this facility. When they are off, they want to go to work in another facility. It's gonna lead to mental exhaustion.
Exactly.
You need to have time to rest. You need to have time for yourself, to thank your body for carrying you through all those demanding hours, caring for people that you don't even know. I always say to people, caring for someone you know, it's love, but caring for strangers, it's called nursing.
Yes,
So
that's
make
nice,
sure
yeah.
that whenever you get that time off after caring for those people,
You also
repay
make
your body with
time.
rest.
Yeah.
I like what you said. Thank your body.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like that should be on a t-shirt. Thank your body.
We actually should get our graphic designer to print that for us. So can I just ask, in your career, what achievement, or rather say milestone, can you particularly share with us that you can just look back and say, that's the one thing that has shaped me and my career?
For me, I think education has shaped me to where I am, that I can boast about. When I started nursing, I only had a bachelor's degree. I went on to have a dispensing license, and I went on to have a certificate, what they call NIMART, which is an HIV management certificate and mentorship. I then went to complete program management, which is what I gained within ORAM. And then I just recently completed my postgraduate diploma in pharmaceutical science, which is more about clinical research and regulatory. So I think for me, had it not been because of nursing, I wouldn't have reached this milestone within my academic sphere. So I believe that for me, it has afforded me the opportunity to even study further, to learn more and develop myself.
So you're really big on it. I'm sorry. I mean, I think like sitting here and hear him talk, I think, you're a person that's very big on education.
Yeah, definitely. When you are in the nursing fraternity, let's be honest, you need to invest in education. And this can be
Yeah.
the advice that goes to all the nurses out there to say, invest in your education. Get those public health masters, get those postgraduate qualifications. Make sure that when you are at the point of retiring, you are able to say, academically, I've done well for myself, and my
Yeah.
academics have helped to care for my patients.
Do you think that having all of these qualifications, do you think that would be something that definitely would uplift the profession of nursing? Do you think that's one of the things, the key things that would make the rest of the world respect this nursing as a profession?
Yes, like I said, nursing has changed a lot.
Yeah.
From way back. Way back, people used to study 6 months in order for them to become enrolled nurses. But these days it has went deep to such an extent that for you to become an enrolled nurse, you need to study for a certain level. In fact, for you to have all the 3 qualifications that I can talk about, which is primary, healthcare, which is midwifery and psychiatry, and the general nursing. Some universities now have changed to even make it 6 years to get all of these qualifications. So unless nurses intentionally invest in their education, they cannot be able to carry all of these qualifications, and therefore they cannot give a comprehensive service or treatment to our patient. For example, if you only have got general nursing, you cannot be able to care for a psychiatric patient that comes to your unit anytime, uninvited, by the way. You cannot be able to care for any pregnant woman. Remember, in our communities, they don't know the different types of nurses. So if you are at the clinic and you have got a general nursing, a pregnant woman might come, and when you send that patient to the hospital, they might say, why not deliver this patient here?
Yeah.
So you need those type of educations that will help you to give you the total care to the patients.
What are some of the programs, or what do you think needs to happen in order for us to drive that in nursing?
I believe there has to be workshops that will be able to inform nurses. Remember, most of them, they don't study not because they don't want to, but they are not informed about the opportunities that are out there for nursing. I always give an example where I come from in Rustenburg, that most people, they don't know about, most nurses actually, they don't know about the course that I just completed, postgraduate diploma in pharmaceutical science. They don't know that nurses can study these courses in order to empower themselves. So it's about workshops to inform nurses about the opportunities that are out there for them.
Yes.
Because most of them, to be honest, they are out there, but nurses are uninformed about them. Therefore, they cannot access them.
I fully agree with you. And I think this is also for us just to be here and be on this podcast and say also, and here's another call to action, is to say,
Definitely.
find information. Autumn nurses, find information on how you can upskill, uplift yourself, how you can further your career. Ask questions and push. And I think that's really key as well.
But I mean, patient, I mean, as much as we've, discussed all of this education, upskilling yourself, reality sometimes it does get too much.
Yeah, definitely.
A nurse, maybe that just started at Orem, may think, oh, I actually want to uplift my skills. I want to do that, but I don't know how because of time management. Like, I'm too busy to study that. I'm too busy to enroll in that. What advice would you give that nurse? Like, how would a person go about it?
Look, Oram gives very vast amount of opportunities to nurses to educate and further themselves.
Yes.
There are programs at Oram where you can just register and not pay for it. For example, like I said, I just completed my certificate in program management here at Oram. Again, Oram has got certain amount of scholarship that they give to nurses that you can be able to uplift yourself if you want to study at a university. You don't have to stress much. Remember, Oram also, when you have enrolled at a university and you have got exams, they've got study leaves that they can give you in order for you to have your time with your books and improve yourself. So it cannot be an excuse to say that because I'm at Oram, I cannot uplift myself. In fact, being at Oram, it's a luxury because they afford you that opportunity to academically improve yourself.
That's
So
really, yeah.
so I think it's just all about prioritizing
Prioritizing,
in a
definitely.
nutshell.
And like patient said, there's no more excuses.
There's no more
Definitely.
excuses.
Yeah.
No more.
So, I mean, that applies to me as well.
Well, but you spoke so much about some of your achievements in your and you are so big on education. What is the one part of your nursing career that you are most proud of? What's that patient sits over the weekend and is there sometime and he sits and is telling his friends or his family about, this is what I'm so proud of about
You
my
know,
career."
for me, the feeling of having helped a patient who could not help themselves,
Oh,
going
that's-
home for me, that gives me satisfaction that I have done something for someone.
Yeah.
It is always satisfying when you see a patient coming in, not being able to do anything, not being able to walk or to eat, and then few days later they are able to leave your ward, being able to eat. And also here at Oram, you have got those patient that comes, or maybe time that comes to the clinic. When you look at them, they have got virological failure, and nurses in the clinic, they don't know what to do. And when you come in and being able to initiate that patient, if they have not been initiated, being able to transfer them from one regimen to another, and then within 3 months or within few months, you see them improved, living their healthy life. I believe for me that gives me satisfaction as a nurse at Oram.
I think that is really so profound, and I think that's one thing that I've picked up working at Oram is I sometimes think that when you guys have such a tough day with the work that you guys doing, I feel like that's the one thing that can motivate you and push you. Like
And it's
Yeah.
conversations that we
It's
do have a lot. Like when we visit these
100%,
sites, like these
yeah.
guys are so busy.
Yeah.
How do they do it?
I think it's so key also for us to remember as an organization, we need to remember the work that we are doing. I think we forget. I think we get lost in the day to day, and we forget exactly. And it's the stuff that you are speaking about that really just
Yeah.
reminds us to say like the work that we do is
Yeah.
really impacting people's lives, and I
Definitely.
really, it's something that I'm so proud of
Yeah.
to be part of.
You know, if I can give you a testimony of one clinic that we
Please,
once
please do,
visited
please do.
in Rustenburg, where there is shortage of staffs and everything, and then Oram comes there and put their nurses there. Most patients that had defaulted treatment were now back on treatment. Most patients that were having viral failures, they were now being suppressed. So,
Yeah.
you know, that nursing manager said to me, as much as no one is blowing the horn for Oram and praising them for what they are doing publicly, but to be honest, the work that Oram is doing in the clinics in our communities, it is very, very amazing. And you see how the nurses interact with the patient, and you know, there is that friendly relationship between the nurses and the patient. And I believe most of them, that is why they have entrusted our health in our hands, because they see the impact that we are making in our communities and in our clinics, particularly when the clinics are overcrowded with shortage of staff, and that is when Oram comes in and gives that helping hand. So for me, that makes me to be proud as an Oram.
No,
employee.
that is so great.
100%.
And I think that's one thing that we can take from patient is like, guys, love in it. Love
Yeah.
in the work that you are doing.
Yeah.
Take some time, thank your body. And take some time and really just give yourself a pat on the back on the
Say,
work,
well
the
done.
amazing
Yeah.
work that you are doing.
Yeah.
No, and I love that. I know that I do think and I believe Autumn definitely, and this is why we're doing the podcast, because we want to give nurses
That platform to
the
actually-
praise that you guys
yes.
deserve. But speaking about the work that Autumn does as a whole, like there's one thing that myself and Dineo has noticed going out is we see people value us in the communities.
Yeah.
And I think
When
it's-
they see that red,
Whenever they see the red
yes.
t-shirt,
it's like it's a winning card or
It's- yeah,
something.
100%.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think as much as obviously we are a global health impact organization,
Yeah.
I think that knowing that you see the people in the communities that actually notice you and understand the work that you're doing and
It's a
value the work
lot.
that you're doing,
And it's
amazing.
motivation actually
Really
to
is
keep
a
going.
motivation.
And
It
there's
really
that
is
trust,
amazing,
you
yeah.
know, that, you know,
Yeah.
that's there, you know, that really keeps us going. So I really
Definitely.
think it's amazing. So patient, you know, as much as we are global and international, what role do you think nurses play in shaping healthcare policies and practice, both locally and also internationally?
I think let me put it this way, that nurses are not only the backbone of the healthcare, but they are the brains of the healthcare.
I feel like we're
And-
learning something in each and every episode.
Yeah, what do I mean by that is that let us involve, especially to the stakeholders out there, let us involve nurses when we make changes to policies or when we draft policies that we think will have an impact in our communities. The reason why I'm saying this is because as nurses, we are in direct contact with the community. We are in direct contact with the patients. We know their needs. We know whatever that they may suffer from. So whatever that will impact them, we have to be actively involved, because at the end of the day, we are the advocates of this patient.
Yeah.
If there is a policy that we see that this one is not going to benefit the patient or the community, we are the ones who will be advocating for that, to say, but this, you think it will work for the healthcare system, but what about the patient? It might not
Yes.
work for the patient.
Yes.
And what about the community? For example, I'll give an example. When we are drafting a policy maybe of implementing a new health facility, and you find that the nurses are not involved and the stakeholders decide on the location of that clinic. If that clinic it's going to be 20 kilometers away from the patient, it's going to be useless.
It's a
Because
problem, yeah.
patients are going to die at home. They will not have the means to come to
To
that
travel,
facility. So
yes.
when we involve nurses, because nurses, remember, we live in the communities, we know the needs of these communities, we'll be able to advocate and say, but how about we put it at least at this location, which will be accessible to the patient? Because at the end of the day, healthcare, it is about accessibility. If there is quality healthcare but not accessible to the patients, it is useless.
You know what,
Helpful.
patient, I think this is just the opportunity. What can we do? We are all here, Aurum is listening. What can Aurum do to drive that, to push these healthcare policies and practices? What can we do?
Like I said, if we can involve nurses in drafting of our SOPs and our policies, I believe that that will help a lot. Yes, our caregivers will help, because most of them we involve them whenever we make decisions that involve the communities, as they are also the advocate of the communities. But if we can take nurses and put them at the center of drafting these policies, it is going to help a lot in bettering the life of our communities and the patients.
I think this is also, again, I'm going to reiterate why we wanted it to be our first podcast to be with
Nurses, yeah.
100%. That is amazing.
Definitely.
So what are some of the opportunities of collaboration and interdisciplinary teamwork have you encountered at Aurum?
I
specifically?
understand. You know, the work team that we have at Aurum, to be honest, we have got a healthcare team that is all at the same level to make sure that the rights of the patients are protected. And what do I say by this? At Aurum, we all work together in order to better and protect the rights of the patient. So there is no one who is above the other. And I'll give you an example about the relationship that nurses and doctors have at Aurum. It's a work collaboration relationship where one is able to go and ask the other for advice and vice versa. In so doing, we are able to better the life of our patients. So at Aurum, to be honest, the work relationship that I have encountered, the multidisciplinary team between the pharmacist, the data capturers, your QCs, the nurses, the receptionist, we are all at the same level. It's like an interchain that if you take one piece of the chain, the whole chain falls.
I love that.
falls,
So
yeah.
it's a chain that is interconnected, that we don't even recognize who is better than the other, we all have got the same responsibilities in caring of the patient. So that is the multidisciplinary team that we have at Aura.
I think that definitely speaks to the
It
Aurum
does.
values.
It does.
Definitely does speak to Aurum.
So I think just
Definitely.
out of interest from my side,
Yeah.
hearing first about Aurum, how did that happen? When did you first hear about Aurum, and how did it happen that,
For me, I
to
heard
join.
about Aurum when I was still at varsity. So when we are at varsity, we are exposed to different clinics. And when I went to this particular clinic in Eastern Cape, then I see guys wearing red and black t-shirts written Aurum. And then I went there and asked, what is Aurum?
Yes.
And then they told me about what they do. And then that's when I researched about Aurum. But also, there was an incident where we did not have, as students, we did not have a registered nurse on call in that clinic. And the manager said, let us utilize one of the Aurum staff to become, the person was a registered nurse, to become in charge of the clinic for today until the in-charge comes back. And that's when, for me, I knew about Aurum. And then I said, once I graduate, I want to be
I'm
part of
going
this
there.
team. Yes.
That's actually amazing.
That's really cool. So, what would you say? Let's a baby patient.
Yeah.
He's out there. What would you say to him if he wants to become a research nurse? Like, what are some of the tropes that you would say he needs, or motivation that he needs to drive his career forward?
For me, I would say number one, every time you have the medication in your hand, ask yourself where this medication come from. How did this medication come into the clinic? So before the medication can come into the clinic, it undergoes through clinical trials. So ask yourself, who is doing these clinical
Yeah.
trials? Who is involved in these clinical trials? And how does it get about for this drug to be approved and get to be in the clinic? So that is where Aurum clinical team comes in. So we do clinical trials for most of the medications, the vaccines. You can talk about your TB vaccines, your COVID vaccine, by the way. Aurum was actively involved in most of them, your Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So that is where the clinical team at Aurum comes in. So at Aurum, you have got the clinical nurse, clinical research nurse. For you to become a clinical research nurse, number one, you need to have passion in clinical trials. Number two, education-wise, you need to have what we call the Good Clinical Practice Certificate. Once you have got these two, keep on applying at Aurum, your chance might come that they might take you, like I also get the opportunity. But also when you come into Aurum, do not just get stuck there. Improve yourself. There is vast amount of opportunities within the clinical research for nurses particularly. So make sure that when you come in, you improve yourself. Not so long you might be the study coordinator. Not so long you might work in. There is all amount of opportunities for nurses in clinical research.
There's definitely room for growth, and I have seen that.
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
I've also seen it a lot. I've seen this growth, and I think that's also one thing that we need to recognize about our organization is this
There is,
a place where you can grow and
And
learn.
uplift yourself.
I just wanted to ask you also this. I actually have two questions, and I'm jumping over. Do you think that we've spoken about some of the qualifications that you need to become a nurse? Do you think that it's something that you're also born with? Do you think it's something that's
For me, I will say so. Giving you my background, and most people, they laugh when I tell them about this background on how I became a nurse. After graduating, I went and studied police. I completed and I went into police academy, and then from there I was into police. But my mind was not there, and something told me to resign. When I resigned, actually everyone was like, how do you resign from, getting
That,
paid and then to
yeah.
become a student? So I resigned with immediate effect and then went straight to varsity and studied full time. So for me, I believe it is something that has always been within me, particularly to be in the health fraternity. It has always been something that was within me, because I could have studied further to maybe progress within police and go to different ranks, but that was not my passion. So I believe that nursing was my passion.
There we go. I think I'm not going to ask the second question. I think you can just leave it at that. I think that is amazing. Next time, I actually wanted you to do the nurses pledge, but I wanted to be on like a piano track or something. So the next
maybe
time,
with a few
yes.
dance moves.
we'll keep that for the next.
I'm gonna have to download it and
Because the nurses pledge, we also need to revitalize the
No,
the
yeah, for
nurses
sure.
pledge.
I'm with you on that.
No, that's good. Thank you so much, Patient, for your knowledge and specifically for driving the educational aspect.
The
of
educational
it. I think
part,
that is
yeah.
something that we need to speak about more. And it's great to have you here. And thank you so much for celebrating International Nurses Day with us. Thank you so much for celebrating nurses and your profession with us as well.
Thank you so much for being you and being proud of what you do, and most especially being at Aurum.
Yeah,
and thank you so
and
much
doing
for
the
this
work.
opportunity.
And
I
for
really
helping
appreciate
patient and for being patient
it.
yourself.
Well, being a patient.
Being patient and being patient.
Thank you so much, Patient. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aurum, for joining us in our second edition of the Memeza podcast.
Yes.
Still can't believe that we're on our second edition. Yeah.
By the way, Memeza, do you think there's people that don't know what Memeza stands for?
I think people need to know exactly what Memeza stands for. Please explain.
I mean,
Please
it means
explain.
shout.
Yes.
So at this point, I think, we're just shouting about the work that Aurum is doing. We're shouting about the amazing work that, people like Patience and Tlamulo and the others are doing.
No, I
it's
love
basically just a platform to just shout.
So we're gonna shout together
Positively.
about nurses. Positively, not a bad shout.
Positively.
So we're gonna shout together about our nurses. So please join us in our next Memeza podcast edition. We also just want to remind you, please visit the communications hub.
That's important.
Like you need to see the work that we do. We have obviously a new podcast for you guys, but you need to visit our communications hub. There you guys can obviously, we've launched a new CI. You'll find all your new letterheads, your PowerPoints. You'll find all of the image galleries, color palettes, yeah.
And more exciting, our chatbot.
Our chatbot.
That's
I'm sure
exciting,
some of you
guys.
guys have received the message, so please engage with that as well. And yeah, thank you so much.
And I mean, I've received comments, people saying, hey, Dineo, I've received a message from Aurum. Is it real? Is it scam? Guys, it's
real.
very much
It's from us.
real.
It's from the comms team.
It's
so
from the
please,
communications team. So please engage whenever we send something. Just please engage when, And I mean, amazing work is still coming. So check out for that. It's definitely coming. But yeah, I think.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you on our next edition of the Memeza podcast.